back to the Now Morning Show. Now, I know we're always chatting about crime and you want to figure out the best part that you can play and how we're going to reduce it. This morning, we put the spotlight on the communities. Inside your Spotlight on Now with Kimberly D'Souza.
Good afternoon, everyone. Walking through in this walk, Pastor, I see so many young boys, and it breaks my heart. And you want to know why it breaks my heart? I'm looking at the statistic of men. The whole country know I just stand up for man, even when people want to blast me all over the place. But I remember the statistic last year: 605 people died. 550, which is 90.7%, is men. Out of that 90.7%, 65.5% is African men. And we may think it's 550 men. But to me, that is 550 generations by soldiers here, men. I ain't come to tell all nothing about no war. I come to talk with love, brother. Because I understand that you're going to have circumstance. I understand you're going to feel people against you. Big man with big gun soldiers come and cry in front of me because they believe nobody don't care about them. Bandit, gunman, police, army man, everybody. Man come before me already and cry with the hurt and the pains that they have within their heart. I want you to understand to value your life, boy. A life is not something you just walk and pick up and just get it back. Men killing everything. You're killing your brothers, you're killing your wives, you're killing yourself and all too, my brothers, boy. In the space of 3 years, 320 men commit suicide. What's going on? What is the love, brothers? I understand all you're going through circumstance, but we have to understand the purpose and value of being a man, being an exemplar. The little youth men in school who are looking up to you, be a proper example to them. It breaks my heart to walk down that street and see so many young boys. And I don't know, the next time I walk back here, 2 or 3 of them pick up a stray bullet. We have to take some level of accountability as men, boy. We are the seeds of this world. The world can continue if men die out. Who doubt me? We are the seeds of the world. You go and commit a crime, running from the police, with your seed and your generation within you, for the police to gun you down with your whole generation inside of you, boy. If Martin Luther King father they do that, if Nelson Mandela father they do that, what would have happened to black people in the society today? Understand the value of your seed. Mothers, brothers, sisters, show men some love too. Show men some love too.
And those are very powerful words coming from community activist and president and founder of the Single Fathers Association, Mr. Rhondall Feeles, who joins us this morning as we're talking about community engagement as a crime reduction strategy. Mr. Feeles, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Morning, Kimberly. Always a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Feeles, some powerful words coming from you this morning as you were speaking at that engagement. What was the sort of impact you were hoping to have with that speech? Of course, talking to the young men and educating us about what's happening to our young men in the communities.
I mean, definitely connecting with them. I think sometimes we come with an approach, a warring approach, which I understand that you need to show that we stand strong against crime. But sometimes it's really a message of love that these fellas need to hear. And I mean, a message of love is not a weak message, you know. People might think that is a soft man message. But sometimes the man who never hears somebody say he loved them, a man who really went through it, a man who went through terrible circumstance, who don't have an understanding of the value of his life or the understanding for life itself, that he could walk up to the next man and snuff his life away. Sometimes you have to communicate to him in a way that really open up his heart and his mind and his soul. And I will tell you, at that place where we went to speak, where the councillor, it was held by Councillor Sammy Sankar and Pastor Dutton, and they were a part of it. They went to specific targeted places for us to speak where
where it was said it was the drug blocks and the murder hotspots and these places. And these young men, when they heard the message, came out, no matter how they were, and they stood up, and it seemed to reach and to touch them. And I really hope that message resonated with them, because if we don't understand, or if we can't communicate to these fellas the value of their life and give them some understanding of the value of the generation that came before them, or the generation that could come from them, then they feel hopeless, because they live in the current circumstance. They have no money. They know if they grow up in an environment where they had a hustle, they feel that the community leader is the man who give them this the hustle, gun to go and kill and pay them $1. But sometimes these fellas need an alternative avenue to hear that love could come from here too. Love could come from a stranger. Love could come from another organization in the group. Love could come from an elder in the community. And many a time, I am telling you, even if you can't save all, you will save a great number of them.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Feeles, in terms of the community, because you mentioned you went there, of course, with Pastor Dr. Clive Dutton and a whole others, how can the community help in stopping the scourge of crime, or can the community help, I should ask rather?
Of course, but for the community to help, the community needs to be empowered. And I mean, I always use enterprise as an example some years ago. And the reason we have to use that is because of what we saw took place there by empowering the community to form groups in the community-based organizations, going into the community, listening to the community, teaching them strategies, but not only teaching them strategies, teaching them value and self-worth, teaching them how to deal with issues, or teaching them to know the rights sometimes. Sometimes there's ignorance to the rights that cause the whole altercation with the police, because they don't know how to deal with certain scenarios, so they just use a violent approach immediately. So I've seen that work by empowering and the formation of groups in the enterprise community, like Dash Youth Empowerment Committee, Crown Trace Youth Empowerment Committee, all these committees, Chrissy Terrace as well, by putting the community and those people who are positive role models in the community to help promote positivity in the areas. The challenge is that you have the people that are willing, but sometimes it's the resources, sometimes it's the help. And I can see even now, even though we've been able to do that in enterprise, things are slowly going back down I don't want to even call it on them, because they're not getting that support. You have to continue to support them. You need the state organizations, Ministry of Community Development, Ministry of Sport, to go into the community and enrich the community. You have a big basketball court, the two backboards off. In some areas, you have no basketball court because you race stereotype area. Okay, they go only play basketball here because most people who play basketball is African. They go only play cricket here because most people who play cricket are East Indian. And we're losing gaps of people. These
now, Mr. Feeles, quickly, I also want to ask, because I know there's a thin line between using the community and using a community leader who may want to lead the young men on a wrong path, and also the community activist, or somebody in the community who wants to see them go on a positive path. So how do you kind of differentiate between the two? Because both come promising good things, but of course one is leading them down a different path.
Well, definitely you have to support the positive influence. If the man who have the more influence, or the man who have the resource is the community leader who's going down a negative path, if he is the one that helping them get school books to the children, if he is the one that when they do have when they have a domestic issue, that he coming to resolve it. If he is the one when the children do a passage to go to school and these things, he dealing with it. When the young boy drop out of school, he saying, "Come boy, I love you, I go show you how to make $1." If we're not empowering those groups or empowering those persons who taking a risk to be positive influence in some of these communities, then definitely the so-called community leader or the gang leader or whatever will always triumph over them, because he have the resource, he have a flow of income coming in, and he already have a fearful respect in the community. So it's about supporting those persons in the community. The basketball, the man who could play basketball who decide to form a team, or the man who could play football, who could play cricket, the man who's doing drama, the arts, these kind of things, giving them access to the community centers without bureaucracy and red tape, helping and empowering those who want to create positive alternative in the community. And there are always those persons in every community, even the ones stricken with crime, that want assistance and are willing to assist if they get that assistance with the members of the community.
Yeah. And can we discuss also, there seems to be a link between, of course, poverty in the community and also some of the crime that we're seeing in the communities now. Is there a way that we can overcome this?
But of course, you see, there's a whole stereotype on the whole to begin with of that poverty. Once you're poor or you're struggling, I can understand you're going to face economic challenge. But because you face economic challenge, it mustn't mean that your only direction and safety is criminal behavior. I encourage and endorse that there must be programs in these in these areas that help the community find employment and these things. But there also must be some moral uplifting of the community as well, so that they understand that here what only deliverance the only deliverance from poverty cannot be a criminal solution. You need to show them the negative consequence in it. What is the benefit of I going and push and hide from the police and push drugs or narcotics, opposed to me going and set up a shed on the side of the road and I plant some pumpkin or I plant some bhaji and set up the stall where there's more probability that somebody could come and buy from that stall for the entire day and I don't have to be running from the police. The police can come and lock me up and imprisonment. I wouldn't have to get a lawyer and have to spend more money down the road. Sometimes it's educating the youth in the community that, hey, what you're doing not really making no sense. You're not going to become financially stable anyhow because you're putting yourself at risk, you're putting your career at risk, you're putting your criminal, you're putting yourself open up to obtain a criminal record and these things. And sometimes it's just about educating and showing them a better alternative, education.
Yeah, and I know that you were mentioning that sort of education that needs to happen. But one of the things you'd have mentioned earlier is using arts and culture and programs. How do we get it into a community who, let's say, the community leader may be focused on another way? So his focus is to get these young men into gangs. How do you, as an outsider, or even you living within the community, decide, no, I want to start a program, I want to start this? Because you mentioned there is a risk involved. Because if it is you want to go on the correct path, there is a risk to doing something different and saving the young men. So how do you start something if you have negative factors all around you?
You have to stand up. You have to understand the benefit to your community. And I continue to tell people, crime is a social behavior that even devalues your property. So even when it comes to your property value, it is important for you to stand against crime, not just the moral aspect of crime alone. Crime destroys everything. We came to the enterprise community with the Empower program, and because there was a murder in the area, it was the worst turnout ever. Everybody was staying inside. So crime causes a level of imprisonment physically and mentally, depression in your community, anxiety in your community. So you have to understand, what am I going to deal with? Am I going to deal with all these negativity that crime brings, or am I going to be the one to stand up and make a positive change so that we can alleviate some of the risk of these negative things happening in our community? And I could testify there are always the groups that do that. There's always a man who was a past drama man, the past comedian, the man who was the steel pan man. There was always the man who was the best basketballer who want to open a basketball team, best footballer. And these persons just need the support from the businesses in the community. Even the businesses on the outskirts of the community should understand that they have a social responsibility to inject and support state while they support the building up of these communities. Because crime in every community is bad for business, is bad for real estate, it's bad for just living conditions on the whole.
Yeah. Mr. Feeles, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Always a pleasure to have you. Look forward to more from the Empower series and those, of course, speeches that you do and the sort of encouragement that you give these young men and women when you visit the communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And that was community activist and president of the Single Fathers Association, Mr. Rhondall Feeles, just sharing how community engagement can be used as a crime reduction strategy. You're on the Now Morning Show, but stay with us. We take your phone calls next. Remember, our number is 622-4010. When we come back, stay with us.